No, it's good
I don't
enough.
see a second hand.
It's good enough.
Okay. So we're going to call the meeting to order. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Yates?
Here.
Commissioner Smith?
Here.
Commissioner Neely?
Here.
Commissioner Pauley?
Here.
Commissioner Mum?
Here.
Vice Chair Edgar?
Here.
And Chair Roth.
Here. Do we have any citizen comments? Nothing. Okay. So how about the adoption of the agenda?
Moved up.
Move for adoption.
Okay.
No motion. Just
Okay.
no changes.
Our general business 4A is the Storefront Improvement Grant Program for 707 Main Street, and that is the Masonic Temple. Is that correct?
Yes. Masonic Temple.
Yep.
Okay.
Lodge.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yes, we do have an application here for a storefront grant for 707 Main Street. That is the Masonic Temple. It's primarily for rehabilitation repair work for the two storefronts at the bottom of the building. The grant application review committee convened last week to review the application. It is complete. We have all the information. This is actually our second round. So we didn't have a lot of the questions answered the first time. So we asked them to address some of those concerns and submit more of a complete application. They did so, and so we've reviewed that. After review and scoring per the criteria of the grant program, we're recommending an award of $20,000 for this project. We didn't, that's the maximum grant award, unless they go above and beyond and really restore the character of the building back to its original historic character. We didn't feel like they were doing that with this project, since they're doing the lower storefront section only. So that's our recommendation, $20,000, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have. Or
I have one, and that is, yeah, I'm for the grant, but it seems a little premature to me before we know what's going to happen with the rest of the building from rumors I've heard around town about seismic stuff. And so can you explain some of that?
Well, premature as in the other things that need to be done. Well, we felt like yes, there was that element of the application. There probably is. It's more of a piecemeal approach than it would be a comprehensive. And we would have liked to have seen a more comprehensive plan for that building, including the full facade. Because originally it had kind of a parapet or awning, concrete awning above, and it doesn't have that anymore. We would like to see that come back. There are some issues with the actual tenant space and how the entry is going to be constructed. Basically just applying storefront windows over the existing and not really modifying the existing, just making it what's there now in the I'm not sure how to explain it. It's the middle storefront, so it has kind of inset, and so that would be included as the interior after this project. So it wouldn't really be modified. It would just have storefront over top of that. But yes, there is a concern that there wasn't really a comprehensive approach taken to this building.
Have they addressed that, or did you speak to them about that at all?
No, we didn't feel like that was part of this grant. Like the interior work, it's not part of the storefront grant. We have reduced the amount because of the level or the extent of work that they're doing. Otherwise, we probably would have considered going above the 20, more to the 40 if they had more, if they were including all of the facade.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Anybody else have questions? Paul? Commissioner Edgar?
There was always a question about the building seismically and construction. My friend Art Stengel, who rented there for 20 years on a second floor, he talked repeatedly about the building and a lot of the problems that are associated with the building, and overall, and kind of used the terminology like he said, it had all aspects of being a money pit, so in the sense of getting into it, it's kind of like, are we getting partially pregnant into what's there, and if there was ever any change of use, the elevator is less than marginal. The sprinklers, need of sprinklers or major seismic upgrades in the building. Would any of the monies that we would put out end up being potentially throwaways, or and that's not to say, again, I think 20,000 is not like a big deal, because if it puts it back into play and makes our street look good.
Yeah.
But again, it's part of this good money after bad world, and saying, is it a money pit? Has it been? Is there a real survey that's been done on the building to where it's not rumor, or where we know kind of more factually what's there, as against having heard something?
I don't think it's throwaway money. Again, we're trying to, think about what the purpose of this grant is for, and it's for dressing up the front of the building. That's the way it's described in the criteria. That's what the money's for. It's to create a nicer streetscape, to attract the potential tenants to that building. And so we tried to disconnect that from, okay, so you get somebody in there, is it going to be okay inside? This grant wasn't meant for that. It is that store front only, and that's the way we reviewed the application. And in that sense, I think the effort that's being made to dress it up and to increase the potential of a tenant coming in there, I think is well worth what we're recommending here. It does improve our Main Street. It's a building, an iconic building that needs to fall in line with the other projects that are happening down there. I mean, with the infrastructure and the other facade grants that we've given out and the facade projects that have happened, it's just it would be a consistent. It fills in that blank there, and so in that sense, we thought it was well worth the money.
So could you just summarize for me what they're applying to do with respect to this grant? As I understand it, they're reversing something that was done mid-century in the middle unit.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And they're only going to do the ground floor. Is they going to do the entire storefront across the Are they going to do the entire width of the building across?
Yeah, just
the middle?
Just the two. The one on the the north corner, and the one in the middle with the pink and green brick.
And so the part that's the arch is going to stay just the way it is.
Yeah, they're going to clean that up. They're just going to clean that up. The major work's going to happen on the two storefronts.
And so the $100,000 that they're estimating is for the two storefronts, and they were asking for 40, and you're suggesting giving them 20. And
Right.
The reason you're suggesting not giving them a 40 is because they didn't go all the way to the top of the building.
They're not really restoring it back to its original historical character, and so for us, that would include the entirety of the storefront.
They're restoring what they're working on to the original.
Yeah, well, it's
Yes or no?
we viewed the project as mostly a rehabilitation repair kind of project, the way it was applied for. Restoration, if it was more of a restoration, including original windows and that sort of thing, or repairing those, restoring the window frames, the original character, then we would have probably looked at it a
And
little
that's
bit more.
not happening in your own.
We didn't feel that was happening the way it was
If I may,
written.
these three photos are really the most instructive.
Well, and I would just, thank you very
Yeah.
much. I was just going to say one thing. It would be very helpful in these reports to have the selected photos, which you're about to do right now, which I was going to ask you to do. So thank you. In your report, to have from, if you could just cut and paste from their report to your, so that we can more easily understand what you're getting at in terms of stuff. So go ahead.
So here's what they currently have. And do you remember when Michelle Rees came here and talked to us, the downtown architect, and she talked about the black awning of death? That was a pretty strong statement, but anyway, that's one of the pictures right now of what we currently have. And interestingly enough, this historic photo shows a different color awning, but still nevertheless an awning. And then their proposal is going to open these up with glass. And while I think, Eric, you're right that the windows certainly are going to be modern aluminum frame windows, what's interesting about it to me is it looks like the upper casements here are going to be very similar to this pattern we see here. So there is some sort of a tie back to the historic elements along this area with these, see this little section right here with the crosshatch in it. So that's kind of like they're doing a hybrid of trying to get some of those elements back, getting rid of any of the awnings, new or old, and then opening up the storefronts to glass. So, not to say whether that's worth 20 or 30 or whatever, just those are the differences.
I mean, there are some restoration elements in the project for sure, but we felt it was leaning more toward the repair type of project.
Okay.
This is current.
Do we have?
4 people in the queue here.
Oh, right.
And I didn't put my name on the queue because I'm trying to look at the pictures and I can't do both.
Can't do both.
I didn't put my
Okay.
name on the queue either.
And the pictures, by the way, if anyone's wondering why I'm doing this,
Because you're Neckers.
Okay, Doug Neely.
Yeah, I think we got to view this in terms of the grant that is applied for. I would make a hazarded guess if there was any type of meaningful seismic refit to that building, it would be extremely expensive, given the age of the building and its materials constructed of. So I think we need to view this as, for the grant application, which was a storefront grant.
Okay. Betty?
I'll go along with what Commissioner Neely said. I agree that to put that up to a seismic would be very expensive, and we haven't asked any of our other people to do that, although it is important to have it earthquake-proof. I was kind of interested in the rumors. I guess I am out of the loop on the rumors of the building. And I'm not really a rumor person. I'm more of a facts person, but two commissioners brought that up. So is there any way we could get elaboration on the rumors? Is the application person here?
Yes.
Can we hear about the rumors? I'm not really a rumor person.
Are you the source of them?
Facts.
We don't want facts, we want rumors.
I like the facts. The rumors are.
So specifically in regards to the rumors of the
Excuse me, can you
seismic,
introduce yourself, please?
Chris Edmiston from Wilsonville, Oregon. Which rumors specifically?
I have no idea. That's my issue. I have no idea.
Seismic. Seismic is the big thing that I've been.
Okay. Absolutely. If there is a change of occupancy, then those issues will need to be addressed depending on occupancy and depending on load. We were very careful to have all our inspections done before purchasing this, and going into it knowing that this could be a huge can of worms depending on the occupancy. Right now it is zoned for heavy occupancy. It's zoned for like a fellowship, and I forget the exact phrasing for it, but it is zoned for heavy occupancy. So that being said, if we were to tone it down to like an office space, it would obviously those regulations would come into play. But honestly, to go back to kind of the big picture, I've been working, probably since October with the city and the state, with historic preservation for the state and with city planners to kind of please everybody. We wanted to return it back to the original, and we have had a little bit of pushback on wanting to keep some of the arguments. Say, well, since that center, because there's 3 basic storefronts, so the one in the center it's a brick and it's a off-colored rock, and they say, well, that's part of its history now, so that's historical, and so you can't remove that. and the state wants to look at the storefront and the oldest picture that we have of it, and that's what we want to do. We want to return the storefront to the most original. Preferably the original shape of the storefront, which is what we're proposing for the exterior. So all of the storefront glass, the single door openings for both of those, we want to return those to the original historical, and that's what we've done. We want to return the transom windows. Where the brick is right now, those transom windows have been removed, but the transom is still there. So we're going to remove the brick and put transom windows up above there, and we're going to do the slats. They don't make the slats that are. And actually, in the right, so on the right storefront, the original transom windows are still up there, but they've been painted over. So we're going to remove the paint, and we're going to try to keep those intact and try to reuse those as best as we can. So that's where they're referring to it as a rehab. But we're trying to definitely please both parties, and we're honestly at the point where we just want to do what you guys want us to do. Our preference is to make it as historically correct as possible, and we don't like the brick or the renovation that was done, and the bricks that were done in the 60s or 70s or 80s. We don't necessarily like those, but to make all parties happy, we left those on the interior. And so as you walk in, so from the sidewalk, it will look as original as possible with the transom windows, the big storefront windows. And the aluminum storefront was actually it was original. It wasn't the wood. There was aluminum involved with the wood, as Brian Emmerich had pointed out, and Jessica Eisland, who we're using right now, said that was a common component used at that time. So, and we definitely wanted the aluminum for just for longevity and for it to look good for years and years to come. So for those 2 reasons, we decided to go with that, and did get both of their approvals for that. But so from the sidewalk, you look at it, and it should look as original could be. And then you walk through the doors, and in the entryway, you see the bricks on both sides, in order to kind of maintain some of the history of the building, not the original history, but the progressional history. So we're trying to please both camps. So we feel like we've brought back the original, and we've also left some of the history. But from the storefront, we're removing the awning. We're reusing the original transom windows. We're replacing these transom windows that have been removed, and replacing those to replicate the original ones. And we're going to try to reuse those best as we can. We're going to clean them up and see if they look good. Remove the awning. And so as far as the rest of the phases, we can't afford to do the whole thing at once. We would love to, but we just can't. And every building that we've done so far, we feel like we've developed a solid relationship with you guys, and we feel like we've followed through on our end of the bargain. We really appreciate you guys partnering with us and investing in, taking a risk to invest in that downtown area, which we so heavily believe in. We started 8 years ago now, and I think I've told you guys this before, but we've bought the ugliest building on the street like 4 times now. And, so this is like the queen of the ugly right now. So, but it is going to take funds to not only redo the outside, but to redo the interior. And we do have a tenant for one of the lower spaces, so we've been remodeling the interior. So honestly, we can't afford to do the whole thing at once. So we definitely plan a phase 2, which ideally will be this summer, as far as windows and paint. But we definitely don't want to take a chance and paint it right now. So, but we've got to do that in phases. So we're asking for the $40,000 now, which is about half of the lower level. And we weren't planning on coming back and asking for more for the upper level, but
you may need to now if you wouldn't mind.
Well, so that was kind of what I was gonna say next. If we would ask that you do that you do go with the 40 originally for the lower half, and then at that point we probably wouldn't come back, and we would just do the second phase at that point. And then as finances allowed, take care of that. But
Well, I think we all, as a commission, feel like it's an important building, and we definitely want to encourage that. But I can understand why it went to 20 instead of 40. So I would recommend that you come back for the other 20 when you do your second phase.
okay.
It's my own opinion.
So,
Thank you for squashing those rumors.
Commissioner Polly?
Yes, I have a couple questions and some comments. The 2 storefronts, are they currently occupied?
No, neither one of them are occupied. We do have a tenant under contract for the center, and they are waiting until we build out that space, because part of what is exterior right now in that alcove will be interior for them once we complete. And we also are leaving the historic the ceiling and also the flooring, the tiling. It'll be done over, but you'll still see the original tiling and the original brick on the walls, and then it's got a really cool concave shape to the ceiling that we're.
Because I've noticed that there has been turnover there, so I'm sure rejuvenating the space would make it much more attractive for your leasees to stay there.
That's kind of always our goal. Was typically we start with the outside and clean that up and rehab that, and then we kind of go space by space as demand dictates, because we obviously don't want to build it out for a restaurant when a marketing company wants to move in. So as kind of demand dictates, we build it out for specific businesses. And so as far as the rumors of the second, third, and fourth stories, we don't know what's going to go in there, because obviously there's a ton of availability down there, and we keep our rental rates low, and we want to work with prospective tenants in order to get them in and incentivize them to come to downtown. And I think all of our past buildings have shown that we've gone from 20 to 0% occupancy to we're about 98% full on the other 6 buildings, and I think that's because they've got a brand new exterior, and a lot of them have a brand new interior space that is built out for them. And we keep our rents low in order to keep occupancy high, and I think we've brought a lot of solid value-adding tenants too.
Well, I think that's a
the
very
Main Street.
interesting building with a lot of merit. And one thing I've really noticed about that building is when I heard it was sold, I had to, because I just saw the storefronts. I'm like, what building is that? It looks completely different from up on the bluff when you look down at it, because you see the beautiful stone and the windows and how everything is very symmetrical. And when you're down on the street, I think a lot of people don't even realize it's one building. And so having the tiles, and I noticed that you're using local architects, that's very good. And you started with, or you have the original architectural drawings by C.C. Robbins, in that you want a high degree of integrity. That's good. And the other question is, you're restoring the tile according to the original drawings. Is it the original color too?
Of the tile around, like we were just going to do black.
Okay. Is that what was there originally?
It's hard to tell because they're black and white photos, but I don't.
But it's not white. But the burgundy tile that's on there right now is going to go, and it's all going to be black.
The burgundy
'Cause I can't
tile is
tell.
actually interior of the far left.
Okay.
So the exterior is the rock front. It's the original Mason rock front, and interior is the burgundy tile. We weren't going to replace that tile. The 2 storefronts that we are working on or that are proposed are separate from that one.
Okay, thank you, and thanks for your application. It was very thorough and lots of good information and pictures.
I'm getting better. I'm getting more thorough.
What did you just call me?
wow.
Jeez.
Commissioner Smith. I love it.
When my students call me that, I kind of like, what? I don't let them call me that either. All right.
Okay. You've been put on notice.
Yeah. No, it was just a surprise. Okay, so my question, one of the questions got answered with the windows, because I drove by there. I actually wish I would have got out of the car. I had a little bit of time before the meeting, so I drove past. But the pictures and the photographs and even the drawings don't really convey what's behind those facades, especially in the one where the really nice historic, the old rock work. I was thinking when you were talking about everyone thinks different periods of it are part of the history. I was thinking, well, maybe we should bring the brick wall back in front of the Carnegie Center. That would be nice. So when you're saying leave, what's confusing me, I guess, is trying to see what's really there in terms of the entryways right now, because the entryways are covered in the photograph by the awning and the pink and green brick. By memory, the entryway on the right-hand side is very much the same as what is shown here. I don't know if that's the case for this, but I mean, when you tear off the pink and green stone, is this entry pretty much intact the way it is, or is that all completely different?
So right now there's 2 pillars
Okay.
on either side of where that door is going to go
Right.
that are up to the sidewalk.
Right, and then
so
when you go
those are
in-
wrapped in brick. We're going to remove all of that brick, and we are going to basically make it look exactly like that as far as the storefront goes.
So, and Commissioner Pauly mentioned that how symmetrical this building is, which is really, with the exception of the ground floor level and the main, what I would call the main entrance. But even on the ground level between these 2 storefronts, they're very symmetrical in themselves. And the only thing that stands out with that is if it's all symmetrical, it should be symmetrical. Meaning, you see this. I can't understand. I understand the grid in this drawing, that the grid above is replicating the small panes, the windows. On the bottom, it's the same grid, but it's representing tile.
Yes.
But what you're saying is that the tile on this side is different than the tile on this side.
We're gonna match it as
So it
best
would
as
be
we
pretty
can.
consistent.
Yeah.
I think it's important to make that consistent. And the other part is it shows kind of windows above and around this door, and then the tile above and around this door, and that seems not symmetrical and stands out. It seems that those should be consistent either with
Originally,
tile or
it was like we're proposing in the center.
Yeah.
And then there was a rehab that was done to the one on the left, and that's where that came from. So it's tiled around there. Those doors are offset, or they're backset from the sidewalk.
Right. Right. But there's not a way to get them consistent by putting windows back in there or tiling the other side?
This was the proposal for the or from Jessica Island, and we kind of took that and ran with it. We're again trying to make both parties happy, and both of them agreed on this. And
Both parties in
as far as the state and the city,
There is.
Well, I would look at
might
where your
want-
money's coming from. So think about that. It begs to be symmetrical. It begs to be symmetrical, and so I don't understand why it wouldn't be symmetrical. And what I mean by that is, even if it is put the tile on the one side to make it symmetrical, even if it's not historically correct, or to take the tile that was put in there at some point and back to the... because my fear is when we give grant money to a project like this, it's doing it partially in the hopes that, maybe someday they'll go back and fix this one door. But the likelihood that that's going to happen is very slim. So we're still going to have it not look finished the way that it really should be. And I guess that's some of the concern about doing, one floor and second floor, third floor at a time. But even within the ground floor, I think you have that. I have that concern, which is what my concern was with the Bank of Commerce building, about doing parts of it and hoping that someday the columns would come back. But if they never come back, we really spent our money wisely.
This is what it looked like.
That's actually the original plans for the building, not what they're wanting to do, I think.
Right. I think that's right.
But that's at least so that's fully symmetrical. It shows on the original drawing from early 1900s very much this scenario, with the door fronts right on the street level and double door fronts on each one, but they're very exactly symmetrical. So I guess, even from a distance looking at this the way it's colored, your eye focuses on the difference right here with the tile versus the windows. So
And I think it might be because you have a white contrast there. The tiles
absolutely,
the tiles
I
are
admit
dark,
that,
and the windows are
that's
dark.
why I
and it will
wanted
be
to.
in and out.
That's why I wanted to understand what that grid is representing.
They're black tiles.
Okay, I personally think it should be consistent.
David, right here.
I'll withdraw.
You withdrawing?
Yes.
Okay. Commissioner Neely.
With the $20,000, it looks like you're going to have to pony up about maybe a little bit more than 3/4 of the cost. Is that right? Does this affect your ability to proceed? No. Okay.
Amber Holbeck and William Gifford. Thank you.
Thank you.
So I don't know what to do because I support it.
Thank you.
I think so. Thank you.
Thank you.
I think we share. Yeah.
As long as you just keep passing it, then we're good, right? Good evening, Urban Renewal Commission. I'm Amber Holbeck, and I'm the Executive Director for the Oregon City Chamber of Commerce. And I appreciate the opportunity to be with you this evening. I'm here to speak on behalf of 707 Main Street and the grant request. And with me tonight, not only is there a member of the Government and Economic Affairs Committee for the Chamber, but also one of our board members. Although William is probably speaking on his own accord, William is one of our committee members, and then also with us is Dick Orr from BCT. On behalf of the Oregon City Chamber of Commerce, I'm pleased to communicate our board's unanimous support for the storefront improvement grant request of 707 Main Street. The Masonic Temple Multnomah No. 1 is not just a building in our historic downtown core. It's a landmark both historically and architecturally. With 4 floors, its height and width make it one of the largest and most visible commercial buildings on Main Street. And I believe that was addressed somewhat earlier. There have been times when few significant investments were evident in Oregon City. Some businesses, like Benjamin Knife Company, have made Oregon City home and invested with the help of the Hilltop Urban Renewal District. There have also been long-standing business families like the Blooms and Bushes and Danielsons and Steins, and the list goes on, who've made Oregon City home and continue to reinvest, and we're very thankful for that. Today we can see progress really being made in our historic downtown core. This requires effort and investment, both public and private. The Urban Renewal Commission has answered the need for facade improvements, which do make a significant difference in curb appeal, potential, and marketability in our downtown. Partners in this effort who bear the most significant responsibility and risk for this transformation are the property owners. The Oregon City Chamber wishes to make clear our support for full storefront grant funding of the Masonic Lodge to further downtown economic improvement and celebrate eventually a showcase rehabilitation effort. And we realize that this will be long coming because this is an expensive undertaking. The new owners of this property, T5 Equities LLC, have renovated 6 properties in downtown Oregon City to date, equating to roughly $2 million or so in improved property, with another $1 million likely to be invested in this one single building. These property owners have proven their commitment to Oregon City's success. It's hard for us at this time to speculate just what uses and tenants will be one day occupying this Masonic temple, but one thing I'm certain of is that storefront improvements, just like you are considering tonight, and the eventual interior rehab that is yet to happen of this 106-year-old building will be cause for even greater celebration for our downtown economic renewal. So I strongly urge grant funding. Would prefer it in the maximum, but certainly respect the Commission's decision.
Thank
Thank you.
Wow, you finished talking and that turned to 0.
Yes.
That was your goal, right?
My name is William Gifford, and I live in Oregon City, and I first of all want to apologize for my alarm going off. I'm not often here at 6. What? I want to make 2 comments. One is I want to agree with Commissioner Smith's comment about the symmetry of the design. I do think that's very important, and it looks asymmetrical as it is, the way that one has brick and the other doesn't. My suggestion would be that there used to be, in another city I used to live in, there was a building code that you couldn't have windows next to a door because it's too easy to break it and get in and just unlock the door from the inside. So, if I was doing it, I'd want to put tile on both sides. Yeah, it's just a thought. The issue about 20,000 or 40,000, and I would hope that there would be some continuum. I don't like to see things in black and white. But and I thought the applicant was very gracious in saying that they could accept the $20,000 and would probably have to come back for the rest. I think the other point was made that if the whole facade was going to be done, it would be more applicable to the 40,000. However, my suspicion is that 40,000, even if they were doing the whole front, would not be enough. So here's the scenario I'm imagining. If you are generous enough to grant the $20,000 to the applicant, my suspicion is they're going to have to come back later and ask for another 40,000. And I would be okay with that as well, but I just wouldn't want that to be a surprise or for you to be seeing that as a hindrance for them coming back and not being, because sometimes there has been some criticism of double dipping, we're going to do this again, they're coming back to the trough.
You're right.
I wouldn't want that impression to come out, that I think that if they are patient enough to put $20,000 now and match that, I would not be opposed to coming back with a larger grant for the rest of it, because I think $40,000 isn't enough to do the front of that whole building, and it's so important to our downtown to have that done right. Those are my thoughts.
Thank you.
Any more? Rocky Smith?
Thank you, William, for agreeing with me. I would also add that my personal opinion on storefront grants is very much the same in that we say 20 and 40, but that's negotiable. I mean, we know that if there's other projects, I know that if the Bank of Commerce came back and wanted money for the columns, that I would approve that, because I think it's what needs to be done. And when you take such prominent buildings like this, and that's why I'm, concerned about this one part of it, because we want them to be done right, and so I don't want anyone to think I don't think this is a great project, because this is, and it's probably, I think it's such a great project that's why I want it to be done as well as we can do it. So I would say that I think we need to, as a board or committee, be open to those type of projects. I think it's okay to be knowledgeable about which businesses are coming again and again, but if a business is coming again and again and they're doing it right and they're doing it the way we want to see the downtown, then I don't think there's any reason we shouldn't support that. I have a feeling I might vote no on this one tonight, which I don't really want to do. I think I would fully 100% support it if that was consistent and I felt it looked right, but I'm not sure I'm going to do that.
Commissioner Smith, can we ask the applicant if he's willing to do these symmetrical
Yeah, I don't know if he would have that answer, but
Could I add one thing?
Yeah.
Here. It's another concern that we had with this, and why we recommended the 20,000 is there's a gray area in the criteria as far as the match goes. It's required that the applicant submit a 1-to-1 match, 50-50. But what is that match? What's the source of that match? Is it private funds only, or is it public funds? And they have a state grant that audibly to us has been awarded for 40,000. So if I mean, that could be included in the match, but it doesn't say in the criteria.
Right.
So if that's not included in the match, then they don't have a 1-to-1 match with this project. So with the 20,000, they would have a 50-50.
Right.
40,000, we're putting in more than the private.
Right.
And what is
So-
the wording in our grant application?
It doesn't specify the source of the match.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Can
Go
I
ahead,
address
Chris.
that?
Sure.
Actually, we do have a verbal yet nothing official for 20,000 match for the storefront, and we have a 20,000 match for the second level upper to be done later at
Of
a later
private
date.
funds?
So no, of from the state.
From the state.
And from
Wow.
Metro.
Okay, great.
So we have 20. So it's not 40 total, or it's not 40 for one project. 20 for the lower, which neither one of these have confirmed yet. We're still in the application process for both of these.
Would you be amenable to Commissioner Smith's suggestions on this, or?
Yeah, we are. I mean, we're very flexible, and I guess we would ask if there's any way if we can be flexible in changing that. If you guys could be flexible in maybe meeting us in the middle. I know you guys are wanting to do 20, and we're asking for 40. If you guys can meet us in the middle, we're more than happy to. And honestly, to be quite frank, we would do it either way. So if you're willing to do 20, or if you're willing to do 30, or 40, we're willing to make the changes to get this done. Obviously, that would be a more expensive fix.
Right.
But just to confirm, it's not 40 for the lower. That would, obviously, we would not be putting in our fair share. So it's 20 for the lower. It's not confirmed yet. It's looking good. It is verbally. They've said that we meet the criteria. That's why I've been working so hard to match kind of both desires. But the other 20 is for the upper and that's for windows, and that's for paint, and that's for windows everywhere, or for windows for the complete second, third, and fourth story. So, and that's, yeah.
Since the grant, that Diamonds in the Rough grant information wasn't included in the application, I think it'd be appropriate to ask for some sort of documentation so we could submit it.
Absolutely.
For the
I don't
application.
have documentation just yet because we don't have official confirmation on that yet. We're in the application process. They have given us a verbal yes for the 20,000, but I don't have anything to verify yet.
If this Diamonds in the Rough does not come through, what happens?
We'll make it work.
Okay.
I mean, that's what.
Can we conditionally, I'm going to say we probably can conditionally, specify the 20,000 and additional 10,000 conditional on the match.
Yes, and Mr. Underwood's going to need proof of that match.
Yes,
whenever you're able to get it.
Yeah, I think that would be.
And as long as it's understood that the money wouldn't be released until he's satisfied that the proof of the match is there.
Clarify the proof of the match. Like, are you talking proof
I
of?
was suggesting the 20,000 we commit to, the additional 10,000 is conditional on the proof of the match.
Your
A
state.
proof of our
Even the
match or the
20s.
state match?
The state match.
They have the 1-to-1 on the 20.
Well,
Commissioner Edgar, please.
first of all, I like your idea. In fact, your ability to say, let's get the symmetrical view of it as we see in the original pictures, and I agree with the importance of this building. Period. But I like the idea. I just would like to, in a sense, move ahead and say, move for approval of this right now, based upon your commitment of creating this symmetrical front, much like what Rocky is alluding to. We can work with you, and I think that this is positive, and I think we just need to get going and make it and get you going immediately. And
Thank you.
I think you're going to be coming back in front of us in the future. So let's just get this phase going. Let's get renters and businesses onto Main Street, and give you the ability to show faith, not only with us, with you, and you with us. And
Great.
let's
Thank
just
you.
make it happen. So I would move for approval. And
Well, we got one more here. Commissioner Yates?
I'm a little confused about the
Yes.
match issue.
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you,
It
Phil.
seems to me that what we're doing with this grant program is saying, yeah, we'll write you a check for 20 or 40, whatever we find appropriate, but you've got to come up with at least half, because we're not going to. We shouldn't care whether he gets the money from the state or not. We're trying to leverage our money. If he can get money from the feds or from some grantor, it shouldn't make any difference whatsoever. He's agreed to, for $20,000, to meet your requirement, not meet your request. I think that's
maybe,
I think it's
30, maybe. He said-
Well, but I think he said 20. So I would I would move that we grant this.
I knew I shouldn't have been
I
honest.
know you shouldn't. In my opinion, we should never give more than we have to. We should give the absolute minimum, and we should try to exert some positive influences on the design process. That's all we should be trying to do with this money. And if he's willing to do it the right way, quote unquote, according to Rocky here, then we ought to get him to do it. And I don't think we need to worry about whether or not he's got a match or not. He's either going to do it, he's going to pull the money out of his pocket, or pull the money out of somebody else's pocket.
I would agree with you in theory. However, we're responsible for these public funds and the administration of them.
I get
So
that.
the criteria, we just need to make sure he can meet those. And it sounds to me like we don't have a problem with
Yeah,
that.
he's going to have the money one way or the other, it sounds like.
Our concern was that we've awarded other grants in the past that have required a 50-50, and we didn't want to make an exception in this case. I want to qualify this a little bit too, because it sounds like the review committee is just totally down on this project from the way I've presented it tonight, but we're not. I think it's going to activate that space. We're really excited to see this happen, and it's going to be great for marketability and economic development in our downtown area. So.
Okay, great. May I ask for a motion from Commissioner Smith?
Oh, God.
Didn't Paul already
Yeah,
make a
you
motion?
want? I think he did. Why don't you try it again?
But I want
'Cause I don't-
I want the phrasing that you were using in your stipulations.
And can we do your motion and not Mr. Yates, please? Thank you guys for your consideration.
I don't know what I honestly.
Can I try?
Sure.
Please.
I move to approve the $20,000 grant with the stipulation that there be some effort with staff to assure that the design of the two entrances are are symmetrical.
Did you want to add the 10 additional?
No, I don't.
Okay. All right. Okay.
Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Okay. I'm going to push your button.
I'm going to,
So-
actually, I'm going to make a
Yeah.
motion for an amendment
Okay.
that we
Can-
do, in fact, give an additional 10,000 if he can find the match for the additional 10,000. That's an amendment. You vote on the amendment first. Is there an issue to that?
When you say find the match, do you mean confirm
Confirm.
the award of the grant?
Yeah.
I'm worried that. Can we have some discussion here?
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm worried that will hold the entire thing up.
Yeah.
Would it hold the whole entire thing up?
Let's just move.
Let's.
Commissioner, if I might, it wouldn't hold us up.
No, not us, but I mean,
Okay.
Their project.
yeah.
I honestly can't speak to their time frame.
Exactly.
I would love to say that I know that we've got tenants waiting, that we've got the interior space done and ready to roll. So
No,
I
that's
would-
not a problem, though. He can go ahead with that first part. I mean, he's got the 20.
Right.
So that's,
Well-
I mean, that shouldn't make any difference, should
He
it?
doesn't have the 20 until we vote on it.
Right.
Well, no, I understand that. We've got a motion for the 20. I'm putting forward an amendment for an additional 10,000 as long as he has the commitment for the match.
Can I just why? What's the purpose of the extra 10,000?
So that he can actually proceed with the rest of it.
But he can proceed. He's told us already he's going to proceed with this remodel of the ground floor, not the upper stories, but the ground floor, with $20,000 of our money. You're suggesting you give him $10,000 more for a reason I'm not really sure why.
Because we're asking for additional improvements.
Well, we're asking for it, but he's already agreed to do it without it.
Right.
So you're giving money
I'll
away.
withdraw the motion.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, so can I clearly understand the motion, please? You restate it, Phil. So I know which way I'm voting.
I think I moved to approve the $20,000 grant, subject to staff's okay of a symmetrical design on the two entrances.
And seconded
We
by
still have the second by Paul Edgar.
Edgar.
Yes.
Okay. Do we
Call the
have-
question.
Call the question.
We're waiting for.
That's a tough one. And I'll tell you why I said nay, because I want to give you 30,000.
So do I. So do I.
Can we amend
do
it?
another motion?
You can do that in a separate motion.
Right.
We can do
The,
this-
the motion passed 5-2.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can I have a clarifying question? Because I missed. That's not the way I heard it. As you were asking us to for the extra $10,000 to meet my request. Is
Right,
the way I heard
that's
it.
the way I
now
heard
I don't know when you heard. Maybe he did say it at some point. I didn't hear it.
He said he was going to
said he
move
could do it
forward
anyway.
either way.
He said either way. he
Yeah,
would.
he's going
Yes.
to move forward either way.
He didn't say he was going to meet what you wanted him to do. He said he was going to work with it
Right.
and move forward.
But meeting what we wanted to do was part of the motion
Yes.
Yes.
that we approved just
Yeah,
now.
just now.
Yes, it was.
Yes, it was.
Yeah, you put the condition.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, it was on that.
Madam Chair.
That's all right. You voted no anyway.
I did. I'm sorry. I didn't. I wanted to give you 30,000
to
and
afford
I,
the project.
But this gives him a good reason to come back and show that he did the job just the
Right.
way he said.
Yes, and
Very
that's
good.
that's what I would stipulate, that you do come back again for the second round, and we'll expect that. Or I will
So we
expect
are
that. I
at
can't
20.
speak for everyone.
you're at 20.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you guys.
Thanks.
Appreciate
Thank
your
you.
help.
Yeah. And thank you for your investment in our community.
Yes. Thank you.
I think we all know it won't be very difficult to spend an additional 20. Shall I say an
agree.
additional 40 because there's a 50-50 match on the next 20.
With
It's going to
that-
be very easy to spend that here, and I think what's really great about this is for not only for the applicant, for the staff, for the community, and all of you, is for this project to gradually earn. I mean, this is a very credible company who's made lots of investments already in our community, so this will be a chance for them to sort of demonstrate once again that they can do a great project, and I'm looking forward to the next application, and I think our staff is too.
Yes.
So thank you again.
Thank you, Mr. Ennis.
Thank you.
And I just want you to know, I was like going to give you the 30, okay?
Me too.
You can write him a check.
It'll bounce really high. Can I use your credit card, Commissioner Smith?
I don't have anywhere near that.
Okay, let's move on to the approval of the minutes for March 6th.
Move to approve.
Second.
It's not up, is it?
What's that?
Oh, it is up. Okay.
We have a second?
Sorry.
Okay.
I said it, but I didn't answer.
Motion passes.
One absent.
6-0 to 1 abstention.
Do we have any future agenda items?
I would like very much to, I've heard Commissioner, the mayor,
Oh, good.
make a comment about looking at the the Blue Heron site area, about the possibility of it being incorporated into urban renewal. I would like to see that as an agenda item for discussion.
I think that's already been put on there.
Well, one thing I might want to suggest to you is typically when there's any kind of master plan done, and most of our commissioners here, city commissioners, realize this, but when there's a master plan done, usually financing is one of the elements. At the end of the process, they'll identify several opportunities and possibilities. You may have a much more informed discussion at the Urban Renewal Commission level once that planning is done. So I don't know what your timing is in mind, but I mean, we're going to be kicking that off pretty soon, and hopefully within, Tony's not here, but I think within 12 months we will be ready to wrap that up. So you may want to, it's a great idea, but I'm just not sure doing it now would yield very much information. You might have a lot more productive discussion.
I think that's a good point.
we do have it as a future
Future,
agenda
yeah.
item. But I didn't want you to think it was next month because we're thinking that it probably would be more productive later on. So.
How are you
I think
with that?
so.
Well, the problem is I think it's going to take a long time. It may take a plan revision. And
We don't have a long time.
my thinking is that though it may take us time to work through it, I think all of that time will be consistent with what's going to happen, and it's obviously part of the financial aspects of the whole project. And so for us to think about it and know that there's political consequences to everything, it's reasonable to get it out going.
What would be the drawback to designating that an urban renewal area before we had a vision or a master plan?
Well, the public may have some questions since they're going to have to vote on that. They may have questions about what's the plan look like, what are we going to do, how come they're asking us to approve the money before they've shown us what the pictures look like. That sort of, I mean,
But we're not authorizing
Money.
We're just
you're going to have to create either a significant increase in the district or a brand new district. So that will have to
Right, to
go.
vote on new districts.
That will have to go by itself without any expenditure.
It has to go to the voters either
Right.
way.
So I'm just trying to suggest how to be most efficient with your time, but if you want to talk about it earlier, fine with me.
Commissioner Ramon?
I want to say that I would appreciate more information because personally, I don't know that I'm in favor of putting it in urban renewal district when it can stand alone.
Well, and also let me
My own
suggest that
opinion.
when you're in this planning process, let's say, for example, a developer comes forward in the middle of the planning process or toward the end or right after it's over and says, here's my proposal for the Blue Heron site. I'd like to purchase it, and this is what I would like to do, and I don't care or need or want urban renewal money. On the other hand, they may come forward and say, I definitely need some urban renewal help. Or we may say, well, your project's interesting, but it could be even more compelling to us if we could help you a little bit.
Yeah.
So if we just come up with the answer before we've even identified the problem, to me, I just wouldn't do it that way, but I would support the commissions if they want to do that. I would just wait.
I would agree.
I think we need to give it a chance and see what happens. You know, give the opportunity to go through the master planning process. But it's good to,
Get the information.
yes, absolutely.
That planning process is going to go pretty fast. I think the agreement we signed with them has a very swift timeline, so
What is the timeline?
I don't have the dates in my head right off, but it's like it's not a year and a half or 2 year process like you would typically see with a comprehensive plan.
It's starting soon.
Yes.
Yeah.
June?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, it's going to be a very brisk pace.
Isn't the RFP being worked on or sent
It's
out?
already out.
Yeah.
It's out,
So-
and
We
deadline's
have-
coming up, and
Saturday, we have the walkthrough for the
that's right.
proposals, right?
I mean, I can't emphasize how fast this thing's going to go. I'm a little bit concerned that it's going to go so fast that people are going to say, "Slow down! I can't keep up with you on this." So throwing an urban renewal discussion on top of that, just
Premature.
it feels a little bit early. Yeah.
Okay, shall we
Okay.
table it? Anybody else have any other suggestions for future agenda items? Hearing none, I guess we're adjourned.
Unless you have something to say.
Oh, no.
City managers report.
Sorry.
Very sure.
Good try. So, I think at least two of you, Commissioner Neely and Commissioner Edgar, have asked about the city's or the Urban Renewal Commission's rental housing properties, and wanted to know kind of what the status of those are. And Commissioner Edgar's famous or infamous for using that return on investment language. I think you're going to be pleased to know that we are getting a return on that. So Eric has a little report here he wants to share with you.
Okay. Thank you, David. So I've kind of, if I could just recap the questions that were asked of me the last commission meeting, was that you wanted to know what we were charging for rent on those houses, what we're receiving in net revenue, and what are the average maintenance costs of the properties, and if both properties were currently occupied, if they were being rented, and what are the estimated property taxes on those properties. So I kind of created a little Excel chart here. I'll just kind of go through that. If you have any questions along the way, stop me and I'll try to answer them. But I think it's pretty straightforward. So the annual rent, this is gross rent, that we get on both of those properties combined is roughly $24,000. I've got a figure of $23,933. That's annually. The net revenue from that annual rent is $5,073, which is 21% of the gross. Property taxes are estimated, and this is combined, at $3,365 per year.
Combined?
Yes. Yes. With each of the values, so one of the values of the homes is estimated at $171,000. The other one's estimated at $157,000. It's a combined of $328,000. The maintenance cost on those, just for last year combined, was $12,552. And I didn't see a trend of the maintenance cost going up. It fluctuated. It was up and down by the year. So the net difference between annual net and property tax is $1,708 in favor of the net annual revenue. So we're out ahead $1,700. And percentage of the gross what do I have? Percentage of gross annual revenue expended for maintenance costs in 2012 was 52%. That's what that comes out to be.
Thank you.
Well, we are ahead, and it is coming into the urban renewal people
Yes.
budget, right?
Yes.
That was my question.
That's a pretty low rate of return.
Yes, it is.
So with the value, I guess what I was trying to show between the net annual return and the value of the homes, if we were to sell the homes today, to make that up with the return that we're getting now would take us roughly 90 years.
Oh my God.
So,
Say what?
yeah, so
It would take us.
it would if
90
if we
years
continue
to-
if we continue just to bring in $1,700 a year, it would take us 90 years to reach the value of the properties if we were to sell them.
Yeah.
And so the implication is
I just
you're
thought that was an
looking-
interesting fact.
you have a plan, right?
Well, yeah, I've got a plan.
Okay.
There's always a plan, isn't there, Eric?
Always planning.
So are we planning to sell them?
Well, that's up to the commission.
The point is,
That-
so you're
that's
going to come up
something-
with a recommendation at one point.
At one point, yes,
Yeah, okay.
I will.
Okay.
Great.
Does anybody want to expound on that one point?
Well, doesn't it seem logical to sell
Yes.
them if we're making like less than 1% return on them?
Right, right.
Like a 0.3% return on our investment? Why
Right.
can't we sell them? The real estate market seems to be rebounding. Why don't we just put them on the market and be done with them?
I could give my recommendation now if you'd like.
Use your recommendation.
Thank
I
you,
think
Phil.
we all know where that recommendation's going.
Yeah.
let's
So,
hear
there's a lot of soft cost into managing those properties that weren't included in this too. So really, if you look at all of that and staff time, you're going to be in the red.
We're going to be in the red
No,
if we keep them.
Yes,
We're in the red
if I
now.
calculate in all the soft costs and the administration time and all of that, managing these properties, you'd be in the
So do
red.
we need to make a motion, or
Yeah.
is there more discussion, or what should we do next?
Is there, does staff have any?
It's not on your agenda, but if you want us to put it on the agenda for
I
the
think
next,
that
then
would-
you
Yes,
can,
okay,
you
that would
can
be good.
direct us to market the properties and
Yeah,
dispose of
yes.
them.
Yeah, give the public an opportunity.
Yeah.
I'm sure everybody's going to want to.
I do have one question. Can I? Oh, you're on. Sorry.
Betty. Are you here?
Nope, it's Mr. Yates.
Okay.
I do have one question about a future agenda item, and it's something my neighbor actually brought up to me, and I've been thinking about it myself. And that's the sidewalk situation in Oregon City's urban renewal district. I walk every day between my house over here on the bluff and my shop over here on Singer Hill, and these sidewalks are just terrible. A lot of them. Of course, I'm responsible for some of them right there on 7th Street, and not excuse me, right on John Adams myself. I'm thinking about replacing some. Has there been any thought or discussion of any kind to use urban renewal funds to come up with some program to fix some of the crumbling sidewalks, either downtown or up the bluff?
There hasn't been any talk since I've been here.
Is that something that anybody has any interest in, sidewalk grant programs or something to help?
I bought a headlamp.
I do.
I bought a headlamp.
I mean,
It's a citywide, I mean,
it's a citywide problem, but we do have these funds, and we do have this historic district, and we do have these crumbling sidewalks.
I can tell you that internally, the staff has had discussions about across the city developing some sort of a sidewalk replacement program using the model that we currently use for pavement maintenance utility fee. It hasn't risen to the level of being on the council's goals because we have a really full plate already, but we are going to study it because it is consistent with their goal of improving our quality of life, and it is something we need to address. We have an old city, we got a lot of old sidewalks.
Is there any interest in using urban renewal funds for this?
I don't know where you. I don't think you have the financial ability right now, unless you go out to a vote, to do very much with your sidewalks because it's a pretty expensive undertaking. And I think you're going to need to use your pavement maintenance utility fee and expand that to actually really deal with it.
And there might be other programs or federal or state grants or something maybe. I mean, I think it's an important agenda item for
Sure.
the future to really dive into because I think it's very important for the mobility and the safety of our citizens.
And I believe we're planning on bringing that in January of next year. We already have it on our internal agenda for the city commission
Yes.
because it's going to take them dealing with the pavement maintenance utility fee to address it. And so Public Works has that on their work plan already.
Just a tidbit, as part of being on the Clackamas County Transportation Advisory Committee, one of the things we got copied on recently was the new state code that came out on carbon reductions for cities, and part of it was a focus on making our cities more walkable, bikeable, and carbon reductions in this area. And in that area, there will be grants that are going to be available.
Those are CMAQs. CMAQ grants.
That are part of the
Yeah.
of transportation, and this would fall into that type of category, and would be applicable because
Right.
they're looking for by 2035 to have a 70% reduction in carbon emissions.
Right.
And so to do that draconianly is going to require some real changes.
Okay, Commissioner Polly?
Yeah, I'm going to make a request. We've got people that are coming in and speaking about a different piece of the picture when we have people that are in the queue. And I think it's important that people register in the queue.
Commissioner Polly?
Yes. A point was brought up by Mr. Yates about the sidewalks, and it reminded me, and I don't know if it would be a future agenda item, but the wall on Railroad Avenue. I don't know if you know this, but when is it sandblasted? Is it cleaned? How is it maintained? I mean, that is just very, very unattractive. And so many, cars are shuttled along there. The hydroponic gardens or some plants on the wall or something, I don't know. Yes, exactly. That's why
We don't
you
have time to
reminded
talk about
me.
that now, but I'd love to. Some other
but I think that
Caroline
would do
talked
a
about
lot
this.
to improve the whole district down there in a big way. So I don't know if that could be a future agenda item, and I don't know if that would be a good use of urban renewal funds, but it would certainly be something that I think we should consider because that wall is an eyesore.
I agree.
Okay, Commissioner Mum?
I do think that we have to remember this is Urban Renewal Commission, and the purpose of it is to spur economic development and blighted areas and all that. Although both the sidewalks and the wall are important issues, but I think that should be addressed from the city in the general fund or whatever. It shouldn't maybe be on the urban renewal, but something to think about.
Mr. Newey?
Several years ago, actually, grant requests were made by property owners in the urban renewal district for sidewalk repair. They were granted, but the Urban Renewal Commission came to a point that said they are the responsibility of the property owners, and so as it is throughout the area. But it has happened in the past.
Okay, thank you. Do we have any other comments? Are you through with your report? Okay. Any other comments?
I just have one. I just want to clarify, according to what I've heard tonight, the only consensus that I have for a future agenda item is to consider the sale of the two houses on Second and Tumwater. And
Yes.
everything else that we're not moving forward. It was just talk. Okay, I just wanted to clarify. Thank you.
All right.
Just talk.
Just stop.